Daddy, Daddy, how was your day? Daddy, Daddy, will you come out and play? Daddy, Daddy, did you know I know how to tie my shoes? Oh, and Daddy, Daddy, did you know I can count my ones and twos? Oh, and Daddy, Daddy, I almost got to say I love you, Daddy, in every way.
Welcome to We Are Fathers. I am your host, Eric Green, and We Are is a series designed to showcase what makes us unique. And today we are talking about something near and dear to my heart, and that is fatherhood. And as you look to the right of me, you look to the left of me, we have fathers here today that work at UNT. So I'm excited about this conversation, fellas. How y'all feel?
I'm excited.
You good? You good? All right, so we're gonna introduce ourselves. You just say your name, your kid's name, and their ages.
My name is Stan Hughes. I am a career development specialist. I have 3 boys. My oldest is Nick, he is 30. My middle child is Dre, he's 25. And my youngest is Chasten, and he is 22.
Oh man, you got it. Well, my name is Eric Green, and I have one, and that is Easton Green. You got a big family, brother.
You do.
I love that, though.
Congratulations, y'all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm Justin Smith. I'm an academic advisor here at the Mayborn School of Journalism. I am a girl dad. I have one daughter that's 3 years old. Her name is Alani Smith, and I have a 6-month-old, and that's Nala Ari Smith.
My name's Jeremy Ray. I work in the Career Center. I'm an internship specialist. I have one and only daughter. Her name's Olivia Bastian, so that way I'm making it clear because she's going to want this. Give me a shout out to her.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she's amazing.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm excited about this conversation that I'm having with you guys. First, I do want to acknowledge that it's diverse. You know, he got older children, and we kind of got younger children. So I'm super excited about the conversation we're gonna have about being fathers. You know, it's a difference than being a dad versus being fathers and being involved. So when I bring fatherhood up, that word, you know, what comes to mind? Just one word that comes to mind, and no particular order, just what comes to mind when I think about fatherhood to you, what it means to you. Leadership.
Patience.
I'm gonna say debt.
That's real. And I think about growth. Do anybody want to expound on that? You said leadership, patience,
Debt.
debt.
For me, it's with 3 boys. My youngest is 6'11". My middle child is 6'6". So finding shoes, finding clothing, where they don't wear sweatpants 7 days a week. But it's still the whole journey of watching them grow, watching them develop. To me, is priceless. You can't put nothing on it. They've taught me how to be a dad, because you're gonna grow, you're gonna learn, you're gonna develop. And that's the best part, because you start here and you end up over here. And that to me is just being a father.
Yeah. And when I look at that, it's not a bad thing. It's more like an investment, because you do invest a lot of money in your kids to get the best, you know. And I like what you said about growth, because it kind of translates on what I was saying. Like, I think when I became a father, I just discovered things about me I never knew. You know, like you said, patience. Like, I didn't know I was real impatient until I had a kid. Because, you with your wife, you could just do your own thing. But when you are responsible for somebody, you have to really just hold back, you know, and be patient and be present and really be invested in the time that you spend with them. And that's why I say with growth, I learned so much about me. And I even think I'm a better worker because me being a father. You said leadership. What do you mean by that?
I said leadership because I thought about the cliche, providing and all that. But that's like just the general role of just being a man. So you don't have to be a father. You can just have a wife or significant other, period, and supposed to lead, right? Or supposed to provide. But leadership, in my sense, like they literally, me being a girl dad, the 3-year-old, I expect her to just go to mom, but it's literally, she's right there, like dad, I have to, you know, just leading that way and still be soft, you know.
I like what you said about growth earlier. With patience, it comes like you want to recognize that they have to grow. And in order to do that, you've got to be patient. They've got to think about their decisions. And you want to make sure you instill that in them. You take your time with making, if it's a good decision or if it's a bad decision, you want to make sure that you're taking your time so that in any way, any case that they, whatever their decision is, that they're thinking about it beforehand and going into that process with a clear mind and not just trying to jump into it and act rash.
Man, I love what y'all, how we started this conversation. Now we got to take it back to the transition part of it. Like when you found out your wife said, "I'm pregnant," what was that experience like? I'm pregnant. What did you feel? What did you think? I know I should have thought about that. I was like, oh, I'm coming out of some money. But I also was like, man, this is crazy. This is real. What did y'all think?
Mine's a little different story. Mine was 5 years old when that happened. So she wasn't necessarily that same route as everybody takes. And when you jump into that kind of lifestyle, it's a different kind of choice. You're a single person, you know, you're about to go into a relationship where you don't really plan on it having a significant other with a child, and you're just like, is this for me? You know, what am I about to get myself into? But I think is you allow your feelings to like take it, you know, and put an investment in that. Things happen, and you'll make the best choice, and you find out like this child is like now becoming a part of me, and while I haven't had her since the beginning of my life, or since the beginning like of her life, I was able to raise her with the things that I value and put the investment into her that I think could help her grow. And I've never been not any proud of her. That's not the right word.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I've always been proud of her for anything she's ever done. You know, so.
And I think that is incredible to inherit a child that's not even yours.
Yeah, like it's a choice.
It's a choice.
God chose her. So.
Yeah, and I could relate because I have a stepdad that married my mom, and I was like 8 years old, and you know, he had to take on that responsibility, and I know that's a dynamic that's challenging. It takes a special man to be able to take on that role as a father and raise a kid that's not your own. So just you even making that decision or that choice with a 5-year-old to be like, I want to invest my values, or I want to make sure that you are, you know, grow up to be the best adult that you can be, is noble to me. So I just wanted to.
She brings out the best in you also, you know. So sure.
So, all right, you fellas, man, when y'all found out, I know you had to go all the way back, but when y'all found out that I'm about to be a father,
to me, it was, because I'm ex-military, so being stationed in Desert Storm over in Iraq, some of the things that we had to partake. I was nervous having kids because the side effects of some of the medications we took. So my biggest fear was, I don't know how my child's gonna come out. Is it gonna have learning disabilities or something? But I was blessed. Like I said, I got 3 boys, they're healthy. And when I found out, I was scared, to be honest, because it's like I'm 28, 29 years old, and I don't know nothing about being a father. But once they come into this world, your whole view just change. You begin to look at things inside of that child. You get to see yourself. You get to see, hey, you know what? this generation is going to continue on because my child is going to continue. So it was a blessing. It was scary, but I wouldn't change nothing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah, that's amazing. How about you, Will?
So for me, thinking back, I have a situation like, not odd, the odd part's going to be sad. All of my 20s, I was a stepfather through undergrad, through grad school, and that relationship didn't work out before I started my own bloodline. At 30, this is the odd part, was in a relationship with my lady for 2 years, but I was like a teenager, like didn't want to tell my parents, and you know, how am I go about that, and stable, credit score high, degrees already behind me, and I'm just like, man, you know, what am I going to do? But I really wasn't scared of the fatherhood part. Wanted a healthy baby, of course, was praying for a boy, you know, rooting for that, and here I am, a girl dad. So, yeah, going back, I really wasn't afraid of the steps. Like everything was planned out financially, had villages, her village, my village strong. So it was really we just needed the baby here, and to see the tornado that was gonna be thrown at us, the good, the bad, the ups and downs, and the 6-month-old is a lot tougher than the first one, and she's only 6 months, and I'm like, man, like you see the bags, I don't know if y'all,
That's real.
So.
Yeah, I think when I found out, because one thing whenever I grew up in, you know, Wyandotte County, and I seen, you know, single mothers, and, you know, I was fortunate to have a stepdad to come in my life, and I can see a marriage over 30 years, you know, what commitment looked like, you know, what being a father looks like in his best version of it. But I think I made that decision in my head that I wasn't gonna have a kid unless I'm married, and I was financially stable. So, like you, Justin, I was like, it was planned out, you know, and because I wanted my son to have the best, healthiest, the strongest start that he could possibly have, better than me, you know, than I had. So when I found out, it was funny because me and my wife talked about it. We was like, we're gonna do it once we get the house, but me trying to save money, I said, nah, let's not be house broke. Let's get the house together first before we start having kids. And then she was like, okay, that makes sense. But soon as we made that decision, the next week she told me she was pregnant. So I had mixed feelings initially, but I knew that it was the right time, and I just was like, let me saddle up. It's time, you know, it's time for me to be responsible. This is what, I'm married. I've been married for, you know, 4 years. So I'm invested. We got a solid relationship. So thank God, you know, that my son is here. So with that being said, what do you what was those moments? Let's talk about, because you said challenging. Let's talk about some high moments with your kids, and then those challenging moments with your kids. But we can start with the high moments. What were some high moments that y'all had with your kids?
Alani Smith, that just ended. She was student of the year.
That's
so
what's up.
I don't know who to credit that. I feel like she got her intelligence from me, but then her mom graduated honors and all these honor cords on. So she's coming from a good stock. The 6-month-old is just, I can't get past crying. Yeah, I mean, of course, and they're like babies, they're gonna be babies, but no.
Yeah.
The first one was not like, you don't want to compare. You do not want to compare.
Yeah.
There's a sense of independence that Alani had that Nala does not have, and she has the loudest vocals. Adele, Whitney Houston, Beyonce, Christina Aguilera, I promise you, I guarantee you, you do not want to be around her. If she starts screaming, crying, talking, you hear her thoughts, and she's only 6. I have a video of her saying daddy for the first time yesterday, and she's only 6 months. She got her 6-month shots yesterday. But that's the challenging part with Nala, and just being there, just hear her coo and goo goo gaga, the high moments. the low parts. With Alani, the 3-year-old, is gonna be that she shuts down and can be stubborn. And I say that she gets that from her mom as well.
That's real. I like the transparency.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because it is high lows of being the father.
You know, everyone trying to tell you, sleep when the baby sleep. It doesn't work like that. You have to feed them every 2 to 3 hours, change them, and they think, well, you sleep when they sleep.
Yeah.
It's like they don't instantly just go back to sleep like that.
Yeah.
It's like, and then you don't instantly you can't go back to sleep. So those nights where you used to can just read a book or go on social media and look at your clock and be like, all right, my alarm's gonna ring at 6 a.m. I have 5 hours of sleep. Nope.
Yeah.
Once you lay back down, she's up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And that brings me back to my point of, like, we have to plan to be fathers, because it's not just an easy ride. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I get so frustrated when I see, single mothers. It's like, I wish that before they engaged in those type of activities, that there was thoughts that these things can happen, and you bring it in a whole human being that needs both parents, because it takes 2 people to make that happen. But you need both parents because of your situation. Like, you got to be involved, like the crying, but you're still there, you're still patient, you're still adding those values, you're still just plugging away. So that just a thought I had, man. But I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Bags and all. You know what I'm saying? Was any high moments? High, low?
High moments. I got it written down in my journal, like the first day that my daughter said, Dad, I got it when I was young, but it meant a lot, like got day, time, hour, all that kind of written down, so it was pretty big. I didn't know the significance till like a few minutes later, I was like crying, it just totally overwhelmed me, I wasn't ready for it, and that's when I knew something bigger than I was happening. Low moments, same kind of issue, when you have to represent your values, so when she does something that you disagree with, and you try to lead her that different route. I wish you were never my dad, kind of moment came up, like I wish you never met my mom, kind of stuff like that. You just got to have that patience to sort of take that moment in, realize it for what it is, and then step away, and then identify what the problem is later, and then rectify it. Yeah. So.
Wow. I have a whole bunch of everything. The highs was probably prom. Being able to help with the tie, being able to make sure the socks match the shoes, just watching them smile, watching them grow, watching them become men, because prom is senior year. So that was probably my high for all 3. My lows was probably when we got empty nests. Everybody started doing their own thing. You don't get those phone calls as often, or you miss the hallways of somebody arguing, or simply, Dad, can I have? Dad, I need. Dad, would you bring home? You start missing those things. So enjoy the crying. Enjoy. You're not my dad. Enjoy it, because life is so fast that before you know it, they're leaving the house. Okay, your hairline is receded. Mine's way back here. That's 3 years, 3 kids. But enjoy those moments, because without the lows, you can never appreciate the highs. So it's like I said, with 3 boys, it's just that whole development, because each child is going to differ. You're going to have one that will sit down and do their homework. You're going to have one that's going to leave the homework at school. And you're going to have one that's going to leave the homework in the car. So enjoy it, because it's fatherhood is when you are a father and a dad, that is a totally different spectrum from just being a father or just being a dad. So it's, like I said, enjoy the lows, because the highs just make you smile. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Look, he poured into us, man. He got experience. I received that. But I'll start with my low, then high, because it transitioned into a question. So one of my lows is once I get off of work, I greet my son. He's like, hey, Dad. But when I don't have a lot of energy and I just feel myself just sitting there and I'm not present because I'm trying to get myself together, and he's just calling for my attention. And sometimes at night I kind of reflect and be like, man, I missed the moment, and that'd be a low for me because I don't want to miss a moment. You just never know, when you last, if we keep it real, especially with what's been going on nowadays. And it's like, I want to be present at every moment that he's trying to get my attention. And sometimes when I miss those marks, that's a low for me. Now, high point, I say, is it was one day that I was sitting at the table and I was on that present, the opposite of what I was doing. I was just like, oh man, my son's sitting at the table, he eating his dinner. I'm gonna sit down and just have a conversation with him. I mean, of course the conversation was about tractor trailer trucks and, what else he like, ghost. And I mean, one word, I was like, so tell me about the ghost. Ghost? Like, can you describe the ghost? Did the ghost big? But it was the fact that I connected with him in the conversation, even though the conversation wasn't a two-way street, but he was giving me something back, and I was looking him in his eyes and just observing him, a little bitty me, and just trying to pour into him, just develop that communication. That was extreme high to me because the next day, when I walked out to work, he was like, Dad, can you sit down at the table with me? And that was powerful, because I was like, he remembered the night before where we had that conversation. So I didn't go to work. I was late because I wanted to sit down with my son and just be present with him. So my question to y'all, what is a connection point, that y'all had just like that you really, really connected with your children, your child?
You want to take that one? Or you want Yeah. I need to be better at it. It's just something that I've worked on over years, and it seemed to make a difference. Because I believe in patience so much, and it's ingrained in who I am, and my daughter can get angry at certain moments pretty easily. Want her to take a moment, take a step back, and so what we've worked on is we take something that she enjoys, being outside. So sometimes she comes to me, especially when I'm more involved. I need to be more involved in some of those moments. And we'll take a walk together and we'll discuss like how that situation made her feel, how that, we could have handled certain things better, and what that does, it makes my relationship with my wife better because I'm taking my daughter out of that environment that she was sort of had a frustrated moment with, making her better, but at the same time my wife is like has a chance to relax and sort of get a little bit more level and then she sees us bonding, so there's nothing that can't be better than that.
Like that. Connection points.
Mine was so when my kids were young, I made sure that I was always a present. I would make sure that I was at home, especially when they're young. I think the bonding moment, I know it's gonna sound crazy, was when I learned how to potty train. Got Cheerios, watched the video first. I know it's crazy, but for men, you gotta go through this because you gotta show your son the basics. And basics is just going to the bathroom. So we would get the Cheerios and we'll put it in the toilet and we'll play a game, who can hit the most. And it was funny because they looking up at me like, well, Dad, you doing it too? And they start to click in their mind, okay, this is what I do when I need to go to the bathroom. So with 3 boys, we went through a whole lot of Cheerios. But it's the basic things that I think being a father you get to do, and it's the simplest things. And those are the things that they will remember. It isn't the fancy little car or the big TV or the video game. It's the moments that you spend with them. Because it's going to, believe it or not, at whatever age, it's still stuck. It's still stuck right there, and they're like, and then they get to pass that down to their children. So it's just, to me, it's just the little bitty moments that was my connection.
You ruined Cheerios for me. I had a whole box of Cheerios. Now I can never get it going out of my
Don't like Cheerios to this day.
Connection point.
It's kind of what all three of y'all said, a connection point. And I can see this with Alani, and this I'm gonna speak to about Alani because Nala, she's just a baby, and of course. So a connection that I have with her, and I can see several schools of thoughts, I can just ramble. But I'm able to still pick her up and lift her up. Her mom can too, but not as easy as just I can just have her up here, and she loves that, especially with a newborn baby that's getting all of the attention all of the time, being able to be held by mom all the time and by grandparents. You know, I'm able to pick her up, and that's how she has to go to sleep. She literally, like, it's hard. Like, if the baby's over here crying, it's Alani's curfew, and baby doesn't have a curfew because she does what she wants to do. But Alani, I have to literally put her on my chest, and she goes to sleep, and then ease her out of the bed. That's a bonding moment. And she's always like, "You gonna eat with me, Daddy?" And she calls me Daddy. Daddy, you gonna eat with me? And I'm like, I always sit down. I'm gonna make that time to stop and do it. When Nala allows it, or I'll try to incorporate both of them. Like, hey, you hold, I'll hold both of y'all. Nala sits here. But that's as minor as that sounds, it's the fact that I'm able to pick her up when she's tired, and Nala's in a stroller, and I'm just walking around trying to juggle all of this stuff, and she likes that I'm still picking her up when everyone else just kind of just giving attention to baby, because that's how life is.
Right. Yeah.
You no longer the chubby cheek.
Yeah, but that physical touch is powerful though. Because I know whenever my son, he, throws a fit or whatever, no way. I don't even know what you're saying no to. He just look at you and say no. He throws that fit, but, when you just gently just touch him, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know, it's a healing property to our common mechanism, especially if it's just in love and intentionality. I like the fact that, that she connect with her father like that. But to go with something you said, like with my child, the relationship I have with her, it helps me to be better with my wife. So we hold multiple identities. Like we husband, we fathers, we workers, we gotta go to work. We all of these identities that we hold. How do you manage that? Because that's a lot at times. I mean, I know, speaking for me, that could be a lot of weight to carry, because you got to cut it off when you go home. You can't bring work home. You got to be present with your wife, because you got to balance the child relationship. So how do y'all manage multiple identities? Or do y'all have any advice? Because I'm looking for it.
I think it takes a village.
Yeah.
I've involved the whole family. So she's got a grandmother that sort of helps tremendously when we're off at work trying to raise money to support our family. Just bought a house, so it's crucial at this point, that we're invested. But besides that, it's communication. Like without having like that communication, I don't know, I'd feel a little bit lost. I want to tell my wife how my day was. I want to come home to, telling her, I want to hear, I just feel a little bit different if I don't call her on my way home and, how was your day? Are you going through anything? Should I be prepared for something when I get home? Is my daughter going to try to kill me? Right. I want to know those things so I can be prepared and think about how I'm going to react and sort of calm my nerves and react appropriately as a father figure and as a role model. So because I don't want her to take those. If I react poorly, and then there's other kids in the neighborhood that don't have fathers, and then she's going to go and, you know, act like that to them. And then they're not going to have anybody that sets in that moment if their mom's not a part of their lives or their dad, you know. It's just, I've seen that and that dynamic, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, that's good.
I just use others for motivation, like my parents, my mom, dad, my children's mom. Like, it allows me no excuses. Like when I'm tired, I'm stressed, or I'm like, well, she's cooking, plus has Nala. I have to pick up Alani, so I'd rather, Alani's way easier than Nala. So I have no excuses. So, and I just think about my mom and dad, like, they did it. It can be done. It's not the healthiest thing to just be like, you have to do it just because you have to do it. Yeah. But I know when I need to step away, and I have my village, and they're there. So I'm listening for advice as well.
I'm like,
I
just can't make any excuses. I got to do it.
I guess my scenarios look, well, not different. Single mother. My biological father, really don't know nothing about him. So when I was younger, I always said to myself that when I had children, they would never go through what I went through. When I had a family, they'll never go through what I went through. So making sure that I give them what they need, yeah, I get exhausted. I would never tell them. But the reward is that smile that they don't think you're watching. The reward is, thank you, Dad. The reward is, hey, baby, I got dinner, so you ain't got to worry about cooking. The reward is the gratification that you get from seeing your children and your spouse blend into one. For me, like I said, it's just making sure that I am the example that they will need to become men. Because if you don't lead by example, then what are we doing? So it's just making that time. And yeah, you get tired. You just want, like, I just want to watch ESPN. I just want to watch football all day. But you got to think about it. You gave that up when you became a dad. And guess what? A football game is short compared to a lifespan of your child. So just make that time.
Okay.
I want to follow up with that a little bit. I think it's important when a child comes to you with a problem, they're going to think that you can't relate to that problem, and you don't want to take away. But like, I've got all this experience with that problem. You want them to experience that problem. So I think the toughness of it is finding how you can relate to the child without bringing up your past experience and relate it all to theirs and blend that. And then that makes you better as a unit, you know, with it. You can do that in your marriage, you can do that with your child. If you can do that in a way, I think you're solid.
Well, to me, I think
Just dropping mics. You got
it's okay, and that's just my personal view. It is okay to tell them what you went through. To me, it is okay to explain, hey, I know what you're feeling. I went through this, son. Because for me, I wanted them to be able to relate to me. Not just say, hey, this is Dad, who I could talk to about a problem, but I still walk away with the problem. I'm still unclear on how to handle the problem or how to address the problem, because kids, they don't understand that you can't go in there with your crayons and mark on somebody else's paper, okay? And think you're not gonna get in trouble. But in the same breath, when you come home and you're talking with them, to me, I've always felt that I'd rather be honest with them and say, hey, you know what? Dad did it too. And you know what? Dad got in trouble. And explain the reasons behind the actions and what the outcomes could be. Because they're growing, as they're growing, they're relating, they're looking at you for that guidance. And sometimes just for me, just speaking with them and letting them know, hey, yeah, I did that, but you know what? Your grandmother tore me up. So that way they understand, you know what? With every action, there's an outcome. And that outcome could be negative or positive, but you got to remember that action first. So that's how I did it at my house. And like I said, everybody's home will vary. Is there one magic plan? No.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like I said, we don't have a manual, how to be dad's 101 dummy guide. We don't have that. We have to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And from those mistakes, we got to correct them.
Yeah.
Because the next year, you're going to make another mistake because that child's going to be a year older. And you're steadily correcting, making sure that you give them that nourishment, that feeding, but also you're developing, you're growing yourself.
Yeah.
So,
I like that. Just to add to like becoming that lifelong learner, because you got to constantly grow with them. Hey, when they 3, they're gonna be way different than when they 13. And they're gonna be way different. I mean, when they're 23. So you can speak to that.
minute.
But minute. But I think one thing that I really am gonna like just hyper focused on is allowing my son to feel safe to even come to me. To even come to me. Like, cause when you are fear-based with your parents, you start hiding things. And I don't never want my son to hide things, cause like you said, I can relate. Like I've been there and done that. Like I'm the non-judgmental person. You can come to me, let me know how you feel, cause I probably done everything under the sea or what you thinking about doing. I've done it. But I wanted to make sure that, like, man, I can relate to Dad. Like I can come to him about sex, about, I'm thinking about these negative things. I mean, come to me, because I'm pretty sure I've thought of it, and I'm probably still still working through it. So creating that psychological safe space for him to be able to effectively and openly and authentically communicate, how he feel. So that's just my thing. But to pivot a little bit, because we're about to come to a close, what do you look, thinking about the future, where your child is now, what do you most look forward to? Because I ain't gonna lie, I'm still trying to get with the toddler stages. I'm still, it ain't my favorite. I find great moments in it, but I'm kind of looking ready for the football. And, you know what I'm saying? What do you, I'm not saying I love my son and I enjoy it, but I'm looking to play some catch. I'm looking to have those conversations. Looking to tie that tie. So that's some of the things I'm looking forward to. What are some of the things y'all looking forward to?
grandbabies.
Ooh.
I'm expecting my first grandson in November.
Congratulations.
So,
that's cool.
So for me, that's being able to see that next generation, being able to spoil that child, send that child back home.
Give them candy.
But being active in that child's life. Because like you said, once they get old and graduate from college, your house gets empty. It gets really quiet. And then you're looking at your wife, you're like, okay, let's go to dinner. But when the grandkids come around, you get to see a part of still yourself in them. You get to see your son become a man, because like I said, the best test of a man is bringing a child into the world. So that part right there, at my age, is my excitement.
That's all. Legacy.
That's really a good question. Because I guess when I envisioned having sons, I was the same way, the sports, and is he gonna look like me, act like me, and to be honest, like just having, Nala, it's really, to be honest, it's hard to even see the next day. So I have to think about Lonnie, and then even when we were speaking in the back, it's easy to have conversation as men. When you think about just speaking of boys, and then it's like, dog, I have girls, and then but it's really the same things. They're gonna sex. And oh my God! And you can't be like that. You really have to have an open conversation. So I really don't know what I just want them to have their own experiences, like you said, know that dad is always going to be there, and she's hollering she wants to be a dinosaur. That's what Alani's saying. She was saying she wanted to be a lawyer before that. And I'm just like, I just think you have no idea. When you get older, everyone probably work from home.
Yeah.
And having
That's
some job behind a computer making 6 figures, and I don't know what you can do with your little sister. She probably want to be a boxer or something. But I literally, it's a good question I'm going to think on and just ask myself later.
Yeah.
Come back to it, you know.
So it's day to day for me. Like that subject's a little tough for me. Back when what you were saying earlier, my wife, she was married before her husband killed himself.
Yeah.
So what I look for with my daughter is her to come to me with her issues. If she's having troubles and stuff like that, I want to see that, more than anything, like her to have that relationship with me. If a kid's picking her down the street, know that we can work through anything, and then I can guide her. I don't want her dating anyone right now. Right now, that's so I want our relationship to always be strong and know. So I invest in her, and we had a daughter daddy dance not too long ago, and that was like one of the highs of my life. Kind of seeing that. Something I never thought I'd do. I don't like to dance. And trying to make myself look like a fool out there on the dance floor to make sure she had that one moment where she was having fun.
Yeah. Man, it's good. Because you got me thinking, we always think about the future. We always thinking about, we don't know what the future going to hold. But what I look most forward to is getting home today and just seeing them, seeing them alive, having another chance. At it again, being a father and pouring into him. I think that's what I look most forward to. Is just, walking in the house, he's saying, "Hey, Dad," and I go bypass my tiredness and really be intentional about my time with him and my wife in the space that I'm in. So thank y'all, thank y'all for being vulnerable, because that's things that we have to reflect on, because we always thinking about next, so we got to get here, but we don't really take time to be present where we at. So thank y'all. But to wrap it up, I got 2 more questions. One is when your kids, what do you want your kids to say about you as a father? So if they was to get up and do a presentation, graduation presentation or whatever, what would you want your kids to say about you as a father?
I've heard other things.
Definitely heard some things in that.
You really was to reflect. Oh God, you got tissues?
To know that they know I love them, and I gave my all. I'm always give my all, and then I'm going to say this to them, that Dad raised them. At the end of the day, unlearn, because I had to suffer through this. You have to unlearn almost everything you're taught, but still apply those things, and then create your own path. And because no matter how perfect you think you are as a parent, no matter, mental health is a big thing now that, older generation, my parents didn't, it was just like, whoop them, but no matter how perfect you think you are raising your child, they're gonna poke holes and be like, you could have did this better or more. And as long as they know I love them, and when you have children, my grandkids, they're gonna say the same thing, no matter if you try to raise them differently or better or whatever the case may be, know that I'll always be there for them. Yeah. They know that they're loved. I listen to them. They're forever gonna be my babies. I'm forever, as long as I'm living, I'm gonna be there for them. Yeah. I'm gonna get on their nerves. I'm gonna make them laugh. I'm gonna be goofy, and Nala, don't
don't watch this one.
I always have my own. No. It's another good question.
Yeah.
Know that they were loved.
Okay. Oh, good.
I don't need my daughter to say anything. I just I want to reflect every day on the day I have. Ideally, I'm getting a hug, and she's giving me a kiss goodnight, and then saying I love you. And if I get nothing but that the rest of my life, I'm good.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much me. With my boys, every day I tell them I love them. I'll send a text, love you. I'll send a text to my wife, love you. And I don't need a reminder because every time I get up, they're here. So for me, just saying that's my dad, that's all I need to hear. Because everything else is, like you said, doesn't need to be said. It doesn't need to be said because when you hear dad, your chest pops out. Okay, when you hear father, your chest kind of like, who's the father? But when you hear dad, all of us, chest kind of pops out there a little bit because that's a rite of passage. So, like I said, just hearing dad, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah. And I think we all would just be proud of them, just like, cause I said graduation, cause that's a sense of accomplishment. They went through a journey, they did something, just us being there and being present and seeing them walk down there and get their diploma.
The rest is icing.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, like my son, he just naturally give you back what you give him. It's like, I love you, Dad. He just be random with it too, because I always tell him I love him, kiss him on his forehead. When he's sick, I take care of him, and then I'm like, I'm sick. He'll go, put his hand. He was like, apple. He be trying to feed me stuff. Like, so this is medicine, right? Okay. But they give you what you give back to them. So I'm pretty sure when they stand up on that podium, they gonna say something about you guys, regardless if y'all not looking for it. Because as fathers, we just want them to graduate. Y'all did it, but I'm pretty sure they gonna say something about y'all that's gonna make your chest, make you get some tears, make you just soft a little bit. But we end off with this question: what if we reversed it? What would you say about your kids? We can end off with that. If you was in graduation, I know it's just kind of we taking it, switching the reverse. If I was up there on the podium and my daughter was sitting in the audience and you was giving the speech, what would you say about your kid as her introduction as she about to come up and speak?
I unfortunately lost my son, my middle son, about 3 years ago. So I had to say that speech. And it was the hardest speech I've ever had to give because he's laying 4 feet away with so much talent and a promise, taken away because of ignorance, not drug related, not gang related, home invasion. So for me, it's still hard because you never want to say those words and that'll be it. Because those words, that's it. You don't get another picture. You don't get another handshake. You don't get another hug. So for me, it's hard because I still have my other 2 boys, but it's still, your heart still feels right there, standing at that podium, looking at this coffin. But I also know that he's still here, he's still around me, he's still guiding me. He's still kind of telling me, Dad, don't do that. Don't send him no more money. He don't need no gas, Dad. Or Dad, put that last piece of chicken down. Your pants are getting a little tight, Dad.
Yeah.
So those are the things that for him, he still gives me. My other 2, my oldest, I never thought he paid attention to everything I did. And I always tried to lead by example. So having children, I did it in reverse. I wasn't married, but I still stepped up. I became the father, and then I became the husband. So we didn't have things set up the house, like I said, we did everything in reverse. But I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change any of it. So for my other two, like I said, my youngest one, he is the maverick. Talking about your daughter? I got a son, 6'11", same way. It's like, can't you? So for me, it's just telling them, don't quit. Don't give up. If your heart is in it, go for it. Because only thing that will ever stop you from achieving is you. As long as you believe it and you dream it, why can't you have it? So those be the things I would tell them to.
I don't know where to follow that.
Yeah.
Got a taste of that. I met my dad when I was 10. My dad's gay, so I've been a part of, like fighting people that are against my dad's lifestyle my entire life. Lost my dad, like got a phone call told to drugs later on in my life. My daughter I relate to, she lost her dad. So we're coming together, we're finding this common ground. I want her to be able to, notice, what I stand for and bringing her up. And any moment I'm gonna, be there for my daughter, like whatever it is, I get a call. There's nothing more important than my daughter and my wife. So I'm gonna say that at any time. I'm gonna praise them for every single accomplishment they've ever made. And so no matter little or how small, I'm gonna make that into a big deal.
Yeah, man.
That's really to piggyback off both of what y'all said. I would apply that on that podium up there and let them know that I'm always going to be here. I'll never judge them. So whatever decisions they make, whatever mistakes, whatever accomplishments, I'm going to be there in their corner. You have your village, utilize it. That's pretty much it. Like you guys are saying exactly what I would say on that podium.
And what I say on the podium is I appreciate you guys, for stepping up for your family. I know I address, my son or whatever, but this is the fatherhood edition, and this should be celebrated. That fathers are involved, that they are present, that they do want to celebrate, even make those small things big, that they want to, shape Nylas and shape the 6, 10, and 11s, and regardless of all the resistance that might come, we still here, we still present, and we still standing, and this is a reflection of that. And I say to you, fathers, thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for doing what y'all do, because it's motivating to me, and I'm pretty sure to whoever else is listening. So with that being said, this is We Are Fatherhood Edition. We appreciate y'all for tuning in, and peace.